Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. I've decided to expand my horizons a bit and review a genre of movie that I haven't touched on before. Oh, it's still science fiction action, but strangely enough, up until now, I've never reviewed a giant Japanese city-stomping monster flick. For this, I got TGG Direct's Japanese Monster Movies Collector's Edition, as in a cheap $5 pack of 8 movies that probably wouldn't sell on their own. Actually, though, I was surprised to find the DVD was chock full of Gamera! Created specifically to ride Godzilla's coattails, Gamera actually was a pretty well put together monster with interesting abilities. Because of this, Gamera actually got its own fanbase apart from siphoning off Godzilla's popularity. As such, many more Gamera movies would be made, 8 during the Showa series. And I just so happen to have 8 movies on this DVD pack. Does that mean... No, of course it wouldn't. While the movies have many titles and require research to figure out just what order they came out in, spoiler alert, it's not the order they're packaged in, it turns out that I now own 7 of the original 8 Gamera movies, with the 1980 film Gamera Super Monster regrettably missing in action. So what movie did TGG throw in there to fill the gap? Another studio's attempt to make a quick buck ripping off Godzilla, Gappa the Triphibian Monsters. American title anyway, the Japanese title translates to the much less stupid sounding Gappa the Colossal Beast. Apart from being a completely different monster from a completely different studio, another notable difference in this movie is that it did not spawn a series, or do very well at all, as Nikatsu came close to financial collapse following its release. Which means that Gappa so far has the most evidence behind it for being a real force of destruction. Nevertheless, let's take a look at Gappa the Triphibian Monsters and... fucking Triphibian? The opening credits let us know right away we're in for a treat, as this was formatted to fit your screen. Poorly. Sometime in the 80s. Continuing on, we meet the leading lady listening to her radio. Kinda. Unfortunately, the DVD did not come with a Japanese audio track, but even then, I'm pretty sure there was supposed to be sound coming from that. Nevertheless, this is Yoko Yamamoto playing the role of Itoko Koyanagi. She is on this boat with Tamio Kawaji, who plays the journalist Hiroshi Kurosaki, and the obligatory scientist Daisuke Tenuka, played by Yuji Okada. Don't know if I pronounced those names right, but damn it, I tried. Once. Of course I'm going to be referring to them with nicknames, my tongue can't take it! The journalist discovers that his publisher is already telling the press about this, until now, secret expedition.
Well, it's not a secret anymore.
And just because he is a publisher, that doesn't mean that he actually has the capacity to spread the news on his own through some form of publication. What the hell?
Like it? I call this Playmate Land.
Wait, hold on. What the fuck? Okay, I can see how the news of this adventure would be taken a little more seriously read in the national paper, rather than in between the tits on the centerfold. Also, what the fuck? Thus, Tatsuya Fuji, playing the role of George Inu in Bossman, explains that he evidently has the ability to build a tropical resort right off the coast of Japan where people can pay to swim with alligators. Wait a minute, what?
Here in this pond will be hot spring water with alligators.
Are people stupid enough to think that this is a good idea?
Oh, very good. Wonderful.
It's terrific.
And where the fuck do you plan to build this island?
Right here.
No, where? The currents in the sea are kind of important to Japan's fishing industry and climate.
Here.
But where is here?
Right here. Here. Right here.
You know what? Fuck it, let's just go back to the boat. Shit is nowhere in this movie safe! Of course, he hooked a gargantuan monster, which results in what seems to be an earthquake to the rest of the crew, and of course when he tells them what it was, none of them believe him. Besides, there's something much more important they've found. Oh my god. How the hell did a 4th grade science project end up in the middle of the Pacific?
Like the statues on Easter Island.
Yes, but we're thousands of miles away from Easter Island.
Well, one difference you can point out is that they look nothing at fucking all like the statues on Easter Island. But they excuse it by saying that millions of years ago, the South Pacific Islands were all connected, explaining the statues. You know, as long as you ignore the fact that the islands split apart long before the first Easter Island statues were carved, or Homo sapiens evolved.
Now, let's go ashore.
Yeah, okay, we're going. Thus, 7 of them head out, including the scientist for all science-y type stuff, the journalist because this is all for Playmate Magazine's Playmate Land thing, and the woman, who is a woman. Not to mention comic relief and the 3 miscellaneous extras. You know if you don't fill all the group slots, the loot and XP won't be as good? Before long, they find some natives who, conveniently enough, speak the language, and that's not too hard to believe as they are big fans of Japan.
Japanese people make promise. Come back. After many moons, you come back. Gappa no angry now.
This original expedition of Japanese people who made said promise? Never explained in the slightest. Instead, we move on to the journalist asking one of the Japanese kids they painted black where the large stone idol is, which he saw on the way in, so he should know exactly where it is. But the kid's Japanese isn't quite as good, and he thinks the man is talking about Gappa. As the explorers have no clue what Gappa is, they go with it.
He should take me when he goes treasure hunting. All right, I'll just go find my own treasure then. That almost scared me.
Instead, it's given me a craving for Fruit Loops. They reach the statue, and...
It's the same. Just like the idols on Easter Island.
That's it! Earthquake! Well, would you look at that? Now it looks just like Nikatsu's finances after this movie was made. However, this reveals a cavern, so naturally they barge in without question. This scene reveals the female character does have a career.
You're supposed to be a news photographer.
But
And you've only taken 1 photograph this entire movie.
Then go back to Tokyo and learn to cook. Marry some little office worker. Have babies. Stay home and wash diapers.
Wow. That's, offensive. His threats of turning her from a woman in the 60s to a woman in the 20s is enough to get her to stop complaining, and before long, they discover something.
looks like an egg.
Hmm? Yeah, I never saw a chicken egg that big before. A giant egg.
Earthquake! Obviously, this sudden tremor sends the egg rolling and cracking, and as luck would have it, it just so happens to be right when the creature was to start hatching anyway, as it is well developed and healthy at this point.
Catch it! Wait a minute. We have to be careful. It's all right.
One of the reasons Bossman sent them out there was to collect rare and unusual species because destroying ecosystems is good for business. Also, where the fuck are they gonna put that thing?
Right here.
Oh, that's your answer to everything! They pack the baby up, which the natives are obviously not happy about.
You people no go. Gappa, be more angry.
Gappa's super angry. Well, I have to admit, it is a better title for the movie than the Triphibian Monsters. Fucking Triphibian? The journalist forgets he's not the scientist, telling the elder that the Gappa he's so afraid of is nothing but a million-year-old skeleton. Of course, this immediately transitions into the reveal. While we can't see very well, we can determine that there are 2 of them, and at least their silhouettes look ridiculous. Being on an expedition specifically to steal many, many fantastic creatures means that as they've just barely found one, it's time to head back to Japan. After they get a good distance away, the monsters decide it's time to attack the village of innocent natives. To be honest, this scene isn't too bad, as the darkness helps obscure lower quality elements, and there are a couple of effects at work that do well to give a sense of massive size to the Gappa. Who happen to look like Godzilla and Rodan's mutant love child mixed with the costumes from Playmate of the Apes. Maybe that's the reason why the best word they could think of was Triphibian. Fucking Triphibian? Bossman intercepts their boat after learning they've only bothered to catch one animal before turning tail, and is sure that said creature is nothing more than a common everyday bird lizard.
You don't think you can fool me like that?
Just you wait till you see what we have.
Never mind. I've seen burnt lizards.
Fucking where? The only thing I can find on bird lizards are transitional fossils of small feathered dinosaurs, which are not lizards. After realizing they found a creature unlike any ever seen, and remembering that he is the publisher of Playmate magazine, he decides that they should keep this from the press so that the magazine will be the only place to get the story. I wonder how it would have went if the discovery of the Higgs boson was only published in Hustler. Of course, the Gappa Mama and Papa don't need to wait for the publication to realize that it's time to visit Japan and smash a few neighborhoods underfoot. It was explained earlier that the baby Gappa's cries were similar to that of a bird, and therefore, they have the ability of homing beacons and interspecies communication. Of course, must not be particularly accurate because this is not the region the baby Gappa is being held captive in. But as far as monster stomping eye candy goes, this is also not too bad, as despite how ridiculous the monsters look, this city set is actually pretty well detailed, and the slow motion works well to make it seem larger than it is. Like clockwork, the army shows up before long. Oh shit, sorry guys, my bad. Unsurprisingly, the Fisher-Price military is ineffective against the dead-eyed, perpetually staring Gappa, and they use Godzilla's nuclear breath to destroy them. I guess if Godzilla does it, that's good enough. Okay, when are they gonna trash a pagoda? Okay, when are we going to see Miss Koyanagi running down the beach in a string bikini? Of course I didn't get my wish, and instead we get to see the latest issue of Playmate magazine, the Gappa issue. Strangely enough, despite being a huge success and one of Japan's cities being destroyed by giant monsters, nobody seems to make the correlation between the creatures. And the baby is getting pretty fucking big at this point! So where the hell are they keeping it?
Right here. Here.
Fuck, never mind! The parents, however, have hidden themselves under a lake, so the scientist makes himself useful for the first time in the movie, proposing a way to get them to the surface.
Listen. That sound is unpleasant to human ears.
No shit, Sherlock! What the fuck are you gonna do next? Give an example of nails on a chalkboard?
Listen.
Whoa, I was kidding. It's okay. Put the ashtray down. He proposes because the Gappa has super hearing, blasting the lake with similar noise will force them to surface, incredibly pissed off and ready to destroy Tokyo.
At the very least, it will get the Gappa out of the lake.
Okay, to be honest, their plan is to blast them with missiles as soon as they are visible because tanks worked so well earlier, and they can't use torpedoes or depth charges because, well, it wasn't scripted that way, was it? Of course, the island kid shows up to the lake where all the important characters have gathered to tell them the obvious. The Gappa want the baby, and they should probably give it back.
You promise? Send Gappa back? Kurosaki, the parents of that baby Gappa have the same kind of feelings as human beings.
I personally find demolishing pagodas incredibly satisfying. While they agree the child is probably right, that doesn't interrupt the scene as we see the creatures being tortured by the sound, which is honestly quite painful, so be thankful that I have a voiceover in this clip. They surface and the rockets fire away, easily doing no damage whatsoever, allowing the beasts to escape and head over to another district to destroy. The Nikko region specifically. Interestingly enough, there was some controversy over that line, with many viewers thinking that it said that the monsters were attacking the Negro region. As if this movie wasn't offensive enough. The characters gather to tell Boss Man that they must release the baby Gappa, but just because 90% of Japan will be killed and he will be responsible, that's no reason to throw away what clearly would be worth all the money in the world.
I won't give it up. I don't care what you say. You can't take it back.
Personally, I'm interested in finding out how the hell they managed to keep it under control all this time. Yeah, it's a big cage, but how the fuck does that disable its heat breath and jet-powered wings? Despite his wishes, they decide that they're going to give the baby back anyway, and fortunately Boss Man doesn't have guards or anything to stop them. Despite this, the monsters continue to tear the country apart, calmly strolling through an industrial district, causing everything to blow up around them, which, while entertaining for my inner pyromaniac, isn't quite as good as the other scenes of destruction, as the lack of people makes it feel less significant. That, and these models don't crumble nearly as nicely as the apartments or pagodas. The baby is brought out to an airstrip, but for some reason the parents cannot hear its cries.
No good. They can't hear the cries.
Oh, well, it's not like they established earlier that Gappa have super sensitive hearing or anything. But not to worry, their intercom is far louder than the 100-foot-tall monster, allowing the others to hear and give us our touching ending of a monster family reunion.
I've decided to quit my job. I guess I'm just an ordinary woman. I should stay home, marry an office worker, and wash diapers.
And Koyanagi has some character development. Or character atrophy? With the scientist's blessing, journalist goes in to claim the ambition-free woman as his own, bringing the story to a close. So the moral of this tale is the importance of family, why porno magazines shouldn't open amusement parks, and woman, get back in the kitchen. Honestly, this movie isn't terrible, though there is certainly plenty wrong with it. How much is from the English dub, however, I don't know. The characters all fit their basic cliché roles and don't expand outside of them very much, with the only real surprise, if you can call it that, being that Koyanagi didn't require rescuing at any point in this movie. The stars of this movie, the monsters, are pretty unimpressive, though. The lights for their eyes, changing them from white to red, is an interesting effect, but the whole head is so stiff they just stare blankly into space and scream at things. Other than the heads, though, there's not much to separate them from any other run-of-the-mill giant monster built on the Godzilla framework. However, I did enjoy the techniques used in the destruction scenes. Having people in the same shot as the monsters was a nice effect, and the building models they smashed up were surprisingly high quality. One interesting problem I found in my research, though, is that it looks like this was originally a comedy. The Japanese version of this film was a satire, poking fun at the Japanese monster movie genre, which can explain a lot of the cliches and the less-than-stellar monster design. The problem is, when it got dubbed into English, the localization crew rewrote it to be serious. Now I'm interested in seeing the original film and finding out what the hell was being said on the radio. As it stands, though, Gappa the Triphibian Monsters only comes in at 2 Pagoda Destroyers out of 5. It had its moments, but the very bland lines written into the English dub didn't help it any when half the movie was people talking about nothing. Thank you all for watching. I've been Decker Shado, and remember, fucking Triphibian?
The helicopters are ready. They'll be here soon.
We're already here.
Okay, let's go.